All right, guys, before I start, I just want to say, thank you to everyone that's watching this video. Thank you to everyone who's still even playing the Division. I really hope the best for the game. I want this channel to be about helping the Division and kind of helping the player base. To do that, I need everyone that's watching, to hit the like buttons, to hit the subscribe button, to basically just help me build the channel, because when I have that support, it's a lot easier to get the developers' attention. It's a lot easier to address concerns in the game. All right, guys, finally we got a state of the game that wasn't just pure cringe. I'm actually excited for that, just to say that the state of the game was not pure cringe. They actually gave a lot of good information. They actually went into pretty good detail on why they're actually changing the entire gear system. Now, this is really good for the player base, I think, just because a lot of the problems with the gear system we knew about. We've been trying to express to the developers for months now, and it looks like they've actually gone and changed a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, that we've had issues with. That's just, lack of actually group roles, lack of freaking ability to actually get really good items. Just having this loot pool that just was not fun, right? So they're actually going into it, trying to revamp all that. And whether or not you hate farming gear, or, just you actually enjoy the process of actually getting all that stuff, I look forward to it, just because it's actually fun, to actually get this revamp, right? Now, I don't like when they just reset gear for no reason, or they just make you farm things for no reason, right? That's boring. That's terrible. When they actually give you a reason behind it, when they actually dive into stuff, give you new content with this kind of update, then when they actually make the system better, that's great, right? It reinvigorates the game. When you have this new stuff in the game, it just makes it more entertaining to play again, right? It's like a new game almost. So there's nothing better to me than actually being able to revamp everything and give me a new experience. Now, what they're actually going to be doing is increasing a lot of the things in the game. So they're going to be doing some new content. They're going to be doing a new power cap for the player, which means that all the old gear that we have is pretty much going to be worthless anyway. So everyone's going to be refarming. Now, you might be upset that you have to farm your old gear, but it's going to be a lot of stat changes and a new power cap, which actually means that you're going to have to refarm anyway. So it's a perfect time to do it. How are they actually going to do all that stuff? How exactly are they going to change your old gear into this usable form? I don't know. What happens if you have stuff like a chest piece right now that has, you have 2 rolls on it. You have max crit damage and max crit chance, so you've got like 20% crit chance, 20% crit damage on your chest piece. And you have it for, some random build that you like. How is that going to translate in the new system? I don't know yet. I don't think they quite understand how it's going to work in the new system, because obviously the core attribute change is going to be based on, you're going to only have weapon damage, a skill tier, which is a new form of skill power, and you're going to have armor. So you're not going to be able to get anything else on your core attribute. It's going to be 3 choices, which basically just kind of reiterates the fact that they're actually trying to go into the role-based gameplay. You're going to either be damage, you're going to be, tank, or you're going to be, skill power. Now, that's not saying you can't have different builds, right? You can obviously mix and match, but the core of the gameplay is going to be on those 3 attributes. Now, they haven't gone into what skill tier is going to actually be. That's going to be the next state of the game. So next week they're going to go into what the skill tier actually is, and they're also going to go into how recalibration works in that state of the game as well. So we won't really find out. We know recalibration is coming back, but based on what they actually said during this state of the game, I'm not going to go into any information. I'm not going to speculate, because some of the stuff just kind of didn't make sense. There was a point where Fred and Drew actually gave an answer at the exact same time, and it kind of sounded like they contradicted each other. So I'm not going to talk about recalibration. They went into how the actual bars on your gear indicate if something is actually max roll or not, or at least how close that is to max roll. They talked about something that we've already known, that god rolls are coming back, that it's going to be possible to get multiple god rolls on your gear, and things like that. One of the other interesting things that they talked about was that talents will only be on your chest and your backpack. So you'll no longer be able to roll talents on, your mask, your holster, your knee pads, or your gloves. And this is just to do for a couple reasons, just to make talents actually feel good, to make them a choice-driven thing, to make them actually play to what you're trying to build to, and instead of just allowing you to have massive amounts of damage for no investment, which is what we see in the current game, where you can just have focused on armor and skill power rolls, and then you can just use your talents for all the damage, stuff like that. That's just made it a lot more complicated and a lot more difficult to actually build unique things, because you can just get everything for nothing in the current system. So with this one, you're actually going to have to spec into what you want. Talents aren't going to have any sort of requirements on them, because they're basically just going to be built around rewarding what they're designed for. So weapon damage isn't just going to be 10% more damage. It's going to be 10% damage as a multiplicative. So your damage is actually going to be increased more by the talent if you actually have increased damage on your actual build. So the more damage that you have, the more crit chance that you have, the more headshot damage, stuff like that, the talent is going to increase all of those. So that's even, that's a bigger increase than just giving you 10% flat damage and making any build do 10% more damage. A lot of what they dived into is basically just how they're revamping everything. So, they gave a couple examples of a tank build, of a damage build, of a skill build, right? We can see these in the images, and the talents that actually go along with those. So, if you're having a tank type build, you have a talent that actually gives you and your team armor for, doing some sort of cover-based move, which, as a tank, you're trying to push up into the front, and you're trying to take that damage, but you're actually getting bonus armor to allow, your team to actually be able to put out more DPS. If you're more of a damage-based build, you get more damage from being close to your allies or being close to your deployed skill, stuff like that, basically just boosting the kind of synergy that you might have. And as a skill build, there's a talent that's designed around you actually being able to heal and kind of being the medic of the group. But this one takes a little bit from the booster shot of Division 1, and that's when you heal an ally with your skill, you actually give them bonus weapon and skill damage. You give a little bit to yourself as well, but that's kind of that basic role that we were talking about, giving those skills and giving those talents a little bit different role than they've had in this game, giving them a little bit more synergy with other builds, giving them reasons to actually be used and a reason to exist, right? There were some other things they showed. They showed like the talents, like Glass Cannon, which is reminiscent of a talent from Division 1. Deal more damage, but you take a lot more damage, which is a really good talent. I like that kind of design, especially for stuff like snipers. That's really good. I don't know how that's going to roll. I imagine that I'm going to have a nice shield build with that. We'll see. Hopefully that damage doesn't apply to the shield, because it already takes enough damage. But we're all getting rebooted anyway, so we'll see what that does. They're changing Obliterate to being, again, similar to previous skills, where the more crits that you actually do, the more weapon damage that you get. So you can see here it's like 1% bonus for every crit, and it stacks up to 15 times. So that's a nice change. You can see different things like hazard protection is getting a little bit of a change. It doesn't look like you're going to be able to get that hazard protection at 100% very easily. You're going to have to spec into it, sacrificing a lot of things. Now, my worry with this is that hazard protection actually becomes a little bit of a useless attribute. Unless skills actually give a reason for hazard protection to exist, I worry that hazard protection is going to go the way of the dinosaur and just not be needed. If you have an attribute that doesn't really serve a needed purpose and people can just ignore it, that's when builds kind of lose meaning, right? If you can go without having to invest into countering a skill build because skills are too weak and you don't really need to worry about it, or they don't want to force players into using a certain attribute, basically all that says is, well, we don't want to force players into using hazard protection because we don't want skills to be strong, right? So it's annoying. It's kind of, if they want hazard protection to actually be useful, they really need to give it meaning. They really need to give hazard damage an actual meaning in the game. They need to give it a point. They need to give it existence. Otherwise, no one's going to use it anyway, because, obviously you can see here 6% hazard protection or 8% crit chance. That's, hey, it looks like it's going to be a lot easier to get to the 60% crit chance cap than it would be to get to, let's say, a 50% hazard protection cap. I don't know what the caps are. I'm just using that as an example. There's a difference there. There's a point to having it, and if it doesn't reward it, then you don't want it. So if there's no reason to actually use it, no one's going to want to use it. Hopefully that skill tier system actually gives a reason to invest into a lower hazard protection bonus, right? So hopefully there's other ways to mitigate that. Hopefully there's, mods that change it up a little bit. Hopefully, some of the gear actually has a nice reason to exist, right? That's all I'm saying. If everything's just boring, then it's not going to be fun. They also went very briefly into how the gear sets are going to be changed. Obviously going to be very similar to what we have now, but what they're going to do is they're changing the talents on them. So basically the chest and the backpack will actually have a unique talent for that gear set, which means that you might not just want to have a 4-piece with the mask, gloves, holster, and knee pads. You might actually want to have a 4-piece with the chest and the backpack, because those talents on those pieces synergize even more with your gear set. So, you could go the route of having just the regular gear set with some, general talents on your chest and backpack, or you could go into a really highly specialized hardwired build in this case, where the actual talent itself increases your 4-piece bonus by 40%. So instead of doing 10% extra damage, you're getting 50% extra, which is a huge bonus, something that you actually rewards you for putting that talent on. Or you could go for a more general talent like we've seen, glass cannon, where you're just doing 25% more damage, but taking, 50% more. So stuff like that actually adds into the gameplay. Now, I am still worried about certain things, how they're going to actually synergize a lot of this stuff, especially in PvP. I know that a lot of players, like to play solo, and if, they've already complained about, 4v1, how is it going to work if all of a sudden now teams can synergize all these talents and, they don't get, this kind of benefit? Well, that's basically what the game's built around. I mean, the game is a co-op game, and I think that rewarding team play is good. It actually, makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more challenging as a team to actually, be able to do these things. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how this goes. The biggest negative from all these changes that they didn't really talk about, and they're kind of dancing around, is when is this stuff going to happen? We saw, like a week or two ago that they posted that the raid is basically delayed, and they gave a tentative date of, the middle of 2020. Which a lot of players assume, means around June. Who knows? It's the division. That could mean July, August, September. You have no idea. Now, if they're actually going back and delaying all this stuff that far, we can pretty much safely assume that the raid is not coming out until after the update. So if the update has to come out before the raid, just to give people time to grind, pretty much what they did when they released the title basin update and released the first raid, they gave players, a chance to actually grind World Tier 4 or 5, I forget, but they gave a chance to regrind that gear before they released the raid. With this new raid, obviously they're probably going to give players a chance to grind this gear and get up to a new player cap, whatever the heck that means. Whether it's a new player level, whether, maybe we can get to level, 40 or level 50, or if it's a new gear score, maybe 750 or 1,000, who knows. But we do know that there's a power cap incoming with this change, and we do know that, this stuff is being delayed for a few months now. So I'm assuming that we're not going to be seeing this stuff till, at least June by the earliest, which is very disheartening because, I was hoping that we would get this stuff really soon. I was hoping that we'd get it like, March, maybe even April. But we're stuck with a really, really lame duck of a game until we get this stuff. I mean, I don't want to grind. I don't want to play the game. I don't really care about, this trickle of new content that's going to be coming with episode 3. We're going to be getting 2 missions and the cleaners. I'm excited for the cleaners, but I don't care about this mission stuff. Like, it's not fun. It hasn't been fun. I mean, the first time you do a mission might be a little bit exciting, and then after that, it's dead. So we're going to get like maybe a weekend's worth of content with episode 3, and then that's it. It's going to be done and dusted, and we're going to be looking for a new reason to play the game again. And that's not going to happen for months. So I really hope that, they can step on it and get this stuff out to us a lot sooner. But, if they don't, we're we're kind of just dealing with a game that's in hibernation for the next half of a year. And that's pretty much, where it's going to stay until we get these updates. Once we get these updates, it's going to be great. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be, new reasons to play the game, new reasons to make builds and test out things, and just fun to have, right? And especially if it comes with new content and all the stuff that they're kind of claiming that's going to be coming out with it, it's going to give the game meaning again. It's going to give reason for players to actually want to play it. And it's basically just like a whole new game from scratch. Like this entire revamp of the gear makes it a whole new game, makes it a whole new experience that's going to be interesting to play again. So, I'm looking forward to it from that aspect. I'm just not looking forward to the time frame. Now I need to find something to do for the next 6 months that's, really involved and really detailed, that actually, keeps me wanting to play a game, not just, something that I'm playing for a week just to deal with the fact that there's nothing that I really want to play. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. I thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.